Computer have different types of hardware components and needs different types of system software to communicate with this hardware. System software is a basic component of computer system. The system software is a computer program used by the system for the management and functioning of the computer itself. It starts running when you power on your computer and runs until you turn off your system. System software is required to run the application program and the hardware. It's an interface between the user program and the hardware. It converts human-readable instructions into machine-understandable instructions. System software is a low-level program specially designed to provide an interface to manage and control hardware components. This also includes system maintenance and management functions performed by the operating system. You can manage the system with CLI, command line interface, so you could not directly interact with the core system software. A graphical user interface is adjoined with the system software that will allow you to do some basic operations. But you cannot do all the important operations that will affect the system structure. Without system software, the system cannot function because system software may run in the background and stabilize the overall performance of the system. Some examples of system software are an operating systems, BIOS and UEFI, assemblers, interpreters, compilers, firmwares, device drivers, debuggers, programming languages. If you are a little interested in software and if you read few articles, you must have noticed that low-level programs and high-level programs are mentioned. We can examine these two terms in a little more detail. High-level and low-level programs are the terms you will often hear in the computer terminology. These two technical terms can be explained as the proximity of the systematic operation to machine language. With artificial intelligence and machine learning capabilities, computers have started to become inorganic or silicon-based forms today. Low-level and high-level programs also constitute this machine language literate. Low-level programs use low-level language. A low-level language is a programming language that generally depends on the computer's hardware architecture, computer's hardware components and constraints. A low-level language is a computer's native language to manage a computer's operational semantics. Programs and applications written in a low-level language and directly executable on the computing hardware without any interpretation or translation. C, machine language, and assembly are popular examples of low-level languages. High-level programs use high-level language. A high-level language is a programming language that is generally independent of the computer's hardware architecture. This feature enables the development of programs in a much more user-friendly programming architecture. Their programming style and context is easier to learn and implement than low-level languages. A high-level language focuses the programming logic rather than the managing hardware components like memory addressing and utilization registering. So, a high-level language does not require addressing hardware constraints when developing a program. However, a high-level language needs machine language interpreter before being executed by the computer. Python, Java, Visual C, Julia, Ruby are popular examples of high-level languages. Normally, computers do not understand anything from the piece of code we write to commands such as if, else, for. That's why we need to first convert codes like these into 1 and 0 that our machine only understands. For this process, compilers and interpreters are used, but low-level languages do not need these compilers and interpreters as they are much closer to machine language. After all these discussed issues, we can now look for an answer to the question of which language we can learn and for what purpose. Both languages have different benefits. Low-level languages require much less interpretation by computers, so assembly codes run much faster than Python code. Also, low-level language gives the programmer much more control over the data storage, memory, and computer hardware than high-level language. You can use this low-level language to write operating system kernels or driver software, but not for game development or web design purposes. On the other hand, high-level languages are easy to learn and use, allowing the programmer to write code much more efficiently. Because of this convenience, these languages are considered much secure and developers are less likely to make mistakes. As a result, both types cannot show a certain dominance over the other, because each has good points in different types. You can decide which language to code according to your requirements before learning program. High-level programming language specifications: developer-friendly, it's easier to understand, Debugging is easier to learn encoding, writing code can be run on different platforms, requires compiler and interpreter, runs relatively slow, memory use much more space. Low-level programming languages specifications, machine-friendly, it's quite difficult to understand, debugging is complicated, it's much more difficult to learn encoding, written code depends on the machine and operating system that used, requires assembler, runs faster because it's closer to machine language, memory use less space. System software is designed to control and coordinate the procedures and functions of computer hardware. Basically, hardware can be broadly divided into 5 sections to provide functional interaction between software and user. Operating systems provide the ability to use all the software and computer hardware elements of a computer system. Operating systems are created to functionally take advantage of all the software and the computer hardware elements of a computer system. It provides communication between hardware, system programs, and other applications. Some popularly used operating systems are Windows, Linux, Android, iOS, and more. Firmware is a software program on the hardware device which performs functions like basic input-output tasks and offers necessary instructions for the device to communicate with other computing devices. To do these operations, firmware enables identification and device control by the computer. Translators are programming that convert the high-level languages and instructions put down by the developers into low-level languages that can later be assembled, interpreted, and implemented with the help of the computer system. Briefly, translators translate high-level languages to low-level machine codes, like scanners, printers, keyboards, speakers, storage drivers. Device driver enables a device communication with the operating system and other programs. Utility programs are a set of programs built for conducting maintenance tasks of computer system. These programs can also assist in executing routine tasks for ensuring optimum functionality of the devices and applications. System software performs intermediate functions to enable communication between other software and hardware to ensure harmonious coexistence with the user.